Welcome to Cellmates.
Oh, welcome to Cellmates.
I'm Kate Phillips.
I'm Dick Ward.
And we are a podcast that looks at two animated movies and we compare, contrast, and generally throw a Venn diagram over them.
Kate, your speaking voice is so good.
I have been practicing.
Yes, you are enunciating
That is
very well.
all I do now. I'm a YouTuber now. Just for my school kids.
You know what? Speaking of YouTubers, but not at all, this is a podcast where we talk about movies that are often Disney.
But not always.
Often musicals.
Not always.
And often good.
Not always.
Smash that like button.
I was ready for that, and then you interrupted with a nice compliment on my speaking voice.
You're welcome.
So that's nice. That's fine.
The words you're looking for are thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Kate Phillips.
Yeah.
So a little context. We're on the eve of probably an apocalypse.
Yeah, so it's appropriate that we're discussing these movies and Dick, tell us about what we're drinking.
Oh my God, Kate, what do you think you're drinking?
A liquefied peach is what it tastes like.
Yeah, it sure does, doesn't it?
But what it looks like is cherry Dimetapp.
This is, I mixed two ideas into a drink. It is Jameson Caskmates IPA edition whiskey.
Okay.
Malibu coconut rum and grenadine.
Why?
Well,
it tastes really good, but it doesn't sound like it should.
Yeah, that's why I said I'm not telling you till we're on air.
I'm taking another sip because this is very interesting now.
So, there is a coconutty grenadine drink called the Hello Dolly.
Aw.
And then the Jameson Caskmates is whiskey that's been aged in an IPA cask, which is a very hoppy beer. So we've got a hoppy Hello Dolly.
And isn't this also, it's a hoppy Hello Dolly. Oh, that's really cute.
Uh-huh.
Dick, this is also 2/3 of an End of the World, I believe.
Which is just all the booze mixed together.
Which is just, like a Long Island iced tea without anything that's not hard
without
liquor.
Islands, yeah. So I guess I should have given you a heads up.
Rum, whiskey, and vodka?
This is mainly alcohol, so.
Oh, that is good to know. Even though it's bright red, it looks like it's mainly grenadine.
This is 2 ounces whiskey, 1 ounce rum, a 1/2 ounce grenadine.
Cheers to the end of the world.
Yep, cheers. Should we give context or should we just?
I don't know. We don't know what's happening.
Yeah, no one really knows what's happening.
You looked at Twitter briefly and said, "I think we're under martial law now." And
So martial law may have just been declared. It's a little unclear. We're gonna figure it out after we record this episode.
Yep. Yeah. That's all. We can't speak on it more. And I guess if it's really bad, we might just not release this episode for a little bit. So
or it might just not be an internet or.
Hey. Cool. So while there is.
So, Kate, why do we keep talking about the end of the world? And what's this Hello Dolly thing? And what's Hoppy got to do with it? Are we doing Zootopia?
Well, we are doing 2 movies that face a world crisis, but not before you get like a taste of really like sweet love story first. So, like you get the sweetness and then you're told what it is and you're like, oh, excuse me?
Interesting.
Anyway, but it's Hoppy Hello Dolly because we're doing Happy Feet.
Or Hoppy Feet.
Happy Feet and Wally.
Which features Hello Dolly all
prominently.
Over it. Yeah.
Very prominently.
Makes me very happy.
Yeah, it does make you very happy.
It does.
Dick, why did we pair these movies together?
Well, you wanted to.
That's true. Why did I pair these movies together?
You tell me.
I'll answer you. So these are both movies that kind of have like surprise second/third acts. You go into the movie thinking it's one thing, and then so spoiler alert,
Yeah,
halfway
if
through,
if you haven't seen these movies,
both of these movies just kind of take a hard left turn. It's like, oh, surprise! Also, the Earth is dying, and this is a movie about environmentalism now. I don't think that's as true of WALL-E.
I was gonna say WALL-E seems like it's there from the beginning, and
That
then
is
does
true.
and then does kind of a turn into nice stuff.
Okay, so
But they both do gigantic turns.
Yeah, Happy Feet is more of a sharp turn, but
It's like 8 sharp turns.
I remember this is the first time that we've seen WALL-E together, and previous to this, I remember like your big takeaway from it was like, well, the second half of the movie was a totally different thing, and
Yeah.
I thought in part you meant some like heavy-handed.
Yeah,
ecology.
I used to say that my least favorite Pixar movie was the second half of WALL-E. I don't necessarily still hold to that.
You've seen The Good Dinosaur.
Well, yeah,
Twice.
I have, and I've seen Cars, and I haven't seen Cars 2. And man, hopefully I can stay innocent and pure, and never have to see any more of that franchise. But yeah, I still have problems with the second half of WALL-E, because it is very heavy-handed, and it's like, oh, I've got to go save the Earth now. Environment. And not that I disagree with the cause of environmentalism, just that I also agree with the cause of a light touch in storytelling.
Well, Dick, speaking of heavy-handed, shall we start with Happy Feet? Heavy-footed, heavy.
Okay, let's talk about Happy Feet.
What's your first experience with the movie Happy Feet?
I hate it. My first experience with the movie Happy Feet. Sorry, I just got a emergency alert letting me know that there is a citywide curfew in effect.
For New York?
Yes. Not till 11 though, so.
Well, that's more time than other people are giving.
Yeah, that's something. Apocalypse is happening, y'all.
Apocalypse now.
I hope this episode gets released. So, my first experience was watching it yester weekend. Yeah, I had probably seen previews. I had no desire to see it, and then you made me. What was your first experience? What was your experience with Happy Feet?
I saw Happy Feet. I was going to say theater. Happy Feet in the theaters. I was very excited about the movie based on the one trailer of that tiny penguin tap dancing to Stevie Wonder.
You love a tiny thing doing a thing.
Really fun.
Yeah.
So I saw it in the theater. Was confused by it, and I'm trying to think if I saw it a second time before. I don't know if this past viewing with you was my second or third time, because I definitely owned the DVD, but also the first time I went to watch the DVD, it was broken.
Oh.
So I'm not sure if I got to see it a second time, but what stuck out to me was like, oh, this is two completely different movies. They kind of jammed together in one feature. And that still was true. But it was just in different proportions than I had remembered.
Yeah. And I do want to say, in the future, not in the near future, but another season from now, I would really love to pair Happy Feet and Smallfoot, because they have some similar structures and some similar ideas, and one of them accomplishes it very well, and the other one is Happy Feet.
You were also mentioning Fern Gully, so it
Yes.
seems like we just have to do Happy Feet once a season now.
Yeah, I guess we do.
All right, I'm going to summarize Happy Feet. I'm taking it upon myself.
Oh, please.
Is that okay?
I don't.
Right. All right.
Can we just establish the main character's name before you start? I know you have the Wikipedia
Feet,
up.
comma, happy? No. His name is my
Let's try that again.
microphone bumped.
His name is?
His name is Wally. I'm on the wrong Wikipedia page.
You are.
His name is, I believe it's Mumble. Let's check. Mumble, no S.
I'm sorry, what is his full name?
Mumble.
His full name.
They call him Mumble Happy Feet sometimes.
His name is Mumble Happy
but
Feet. Thank you.
I don't see
Thank
any
you.
text-based
answered.
evidence in this
and answered.
Wikipedia.
Mumble Happy Feet.
It's just
That's
hearsay.
his name in the movie. It's like when I say Princess Tangle about Rapunzel, but it's not a joke.
Yeah, you do say that.
Because his name is Mumble Happy Feet.
All right. 2 minutes on the cookie timer clock. Here I go. All right. And baby penguin born to a couple. Every penguin has a heart song, and that's how they find their mates. His dad drops his egg when he's being incubated, and Mumble comes out, and he's like mostly fine, but he doesn't have a heart song. All he can do is tap dance, and he's like pretty good at it for a penguin, I guess. But he has trouble connecting with other penguins and like being part of his community. And after people graduate from like Penguin High School, he kind of gets separated and ends up sad because he's rejected by the penguin girl he likes, and ends up with this colony of smaller penguins, and many of them are Robin Williams, and they appreciate his dancing. That's great. And then they find this penguin that has pop can rings on his neck, and there's all of these like clues that there might be aliens in Antarctica because there are big machines, and there's like trash in the water that makes penguins choke. Turns out aliens are humans. Oh no. They go on an adventure and they try to find the aliens, and they go past a lot of Antarctic creatures, and Mumble gets like captured or like flops himself onto, I don't really know how it works, but he ends up in a zoo, like a human zoo, and he gets really sad. But he gets people's attention, like humans' attention at the zoo, by tap dancing again. And he draws attention to his cause, and he brings everyone back to his community to see, like, no, look, you're eating all of our fish, but look, we can tap dance. And he has to kind of win over his penguin community because they don't really like tap dancing. They don't accept it. But eventually they all tap dance, and the humans like that. And apparently they like stop overfishing. We don't really see what happens next, but we presume that the humans are going to treat them a little bit more humanely because now they see they can dance. They think they're peoples, just like us. Happy feet.
Do you get that in under 2 minutes? Holy
sure
cow.
did.
So the nice thing about Happy Feet is the message is confusing and bad.
There are like at least 3 stories going on, and yet not very much happens in the movie.
I was so bored throughout the first half hour of this movie because it was a penguin singing a song. Well, it starts, so the movie starts...
One penguin at a time singing a song.
The movie
for a
starts
while.
with a bunch of penguins singing at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And they are each singing a different song. Mm-hmm. So it ends up being kind of this mashup. And we're led to believe that this is all the penguins singing their heart songs. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, oh, cool. Each penguin sings one song. That's their song. And we're going to get like a lot of this cool, interesting music. But that doesn't happen ever again.
Well,
in the movie.
It kind of does, but it's immediately contradicted by the fact that Gloria, who ends up as Mumble's mate, has like a different heart song when she's younger. And then I guess it's still her heart song when she's older. The Boogie Wonderland is her heart song. Oh, by the way, all these heart songs are actual pop songs from the last several decades.
Yes, the penguins all sing pop songs.
Like Queen and Prince and Boogie Wonderland.
It's rough.
I actually don't mind the musical numbers as much as you did. Those are like the only parts that I care about in this movie. I mean, and care is a relative term.
Endless.
The way I describe this is that it was made pretty much squarely in the year, like in the halfway point between Moulin Rouge and Glee, and it shows what that whole decade was about. Like. Once Moulin Rouge did the mashup, a lot of movies were like, I can do that too.
I didn't mind the first mashup because it was creatively done.
The one with Mumble's parents.
But then every other song was just a performance by an animal. Mm-hmm. And it was just like, you know, when you watch like a shitty Adam Sandler comedy and then at the end, there's like a grandma who raps, and you're like, whoa, rapping grandma. Like, that's cool once, but this was like a whole movie of just, now this grandma's gonna rap. What?
Except for it wasn't as funny as that
That's what I'm saying, is it's funny once.
Yeah.
It's interesting once.
for a penguin to be singing. Yeah. Because then, so Gloria has the same, she sings it when she's little, Boogie Wonderland, and then when she's older. But in between, she sings she sings
does Somebody to Love.
Somebody to Love,
Yeah.
like at their high school graduation party.
But all the other penguins sing it with her, so I guess they can all sing
Yeah,
whatever
you
they
had
want to.
You had the note of like, is this penguin's heart song the backup?
Yeah, is he
The
a
backup
background
vocals
vocalist?
to Somebody to Love? That's his heart song.
Because we see that each penguin has their heart song,
Yeah.
and then they go to school to learn how to sing their heart song, even though they already have.
To learn how to like
A heart
extract the heart
song.
song from themselves.
But
I
every
guess.
other penguin immediately has a heart song.
Right.
Except for Mumble. He doesn't. He
has a
tap
heart
dances.
tap.
Yeah.
Okay. Note: Savion Glover, amazing tap dancer and legendary performer, did mocap for at least Mumble, if not other penguins as well, and he choreographed all the penguin tapping.
And you may know Savion Glover
Mm-hmm.
as a man with legs. Instead of tiny feet that attach to a furry body that are in snow, so you can't see the tap dancing.
Yeah, it's a little
I could not-
muddled.
I asked you, I was like, is he a good tap dancer or a bad tap dancer? I can't tell.
So I think we're relying on like the musical rhythms that we hear, because those are cool, like the tap rhythms, right? So I think that's the idea, that like it's composed. It's kind of it ends up being more stomp based than like a typical tap performance. But
It also, sorry,
no, it's okay. You had problems. Air them out. Go.
We're not even where we need to be for these, but it's also not clear to me what is diegetic and non-diegetic. Like
in terms of the singing.
the
Yeah.
penguins sang a Queen song, but when penguins sing to humans, the humans don't hear that.
No, it's squawking. It's
But this penguin that did a big fancy tap dance was actually doing a big fancy tap dance, and it's hard to know that.
Yeah, that's fair. It's like, what can humans? So maybe tap is the universal language.
Whoa, dance.
That's the boom.
Dance, the universal language.
Boom. Message of the story here.
All right. Also handshakes. Go ahead, Kate. You got anything else before we move on to Walbert?
I don't. Let's
Extreme.
move on. Wall E, all capital letters.
Yeah.
When did you first see this? What's your history with Wall-E?
I saw it in theaters.
Okay.
Yeah. I really liked the beginning of it. I still think the beginning portion of Wall-E is some of the finest work Pixar has ever done. I hated the end of it. I now just dislike the end of it.
That's progress.
No.
Yeah. I can't remember if I saw this in theaters or not, because
Really?
this came out the summer that I was interning in New York, between my junior and senior years of college. So I can't remember if I like went to the theater sometime that summer or whether I just caught it later. But I saw it within the first year and have seen it probably a couple times since. I love this movie. I love the second half. I think it's fun. I think there's a lot of moments in the second half, and I've kind of gone the other way where I'm like, no, the second half is brilliant, and then this time I'm like, oh, it's okay.
I think we kind of met each other halfway on this one.
Yeah.
On this,
Yeah.
On this viewing.
On the second half
I was
of
like,
Wall-E.
oh, I see what Kate's saying. And then you were like, oh, I see what you're saying. It was nice. It was refreshing.
But this is a good one. Like you're saying, it's what Pixar does best, and just pure visual storytelling, certainly in the first act of this movie. And just the, like, who else can make, I mean, right? Like that robot with a finite number of moving parts on his head,
Mm-hmm.
way more expression than Mumble the penguin.
Well-
And like, I think those penguins were pretty good. They weren't like 2019 Lion King.
Well,
where,
there were
like,
only 3 different penguins.
sure.
There was Mumble, the fat one, and then every other adult penguin
But,
was
like,
the same model.
No, even if I couldn't tell what penguin it was,
Yeah.
I knew if that penguin was sad. They used like eyeballs and things.
Yeah.
But no, but like Wally is more expressive than any. It's incredible.
Wally picking up trash at the beginning of this movie is more captivating than 50 penguins doing a song and dance number. And like,
Yeah.
that's
fair.
all it comes down to. Like, it's smart storytelling. It's patient storytelling. Like, they don't introduce like Wally saying a word until like half hour into the movie.
Yeah.
Like it's so patient. It's just masterful because you know what's happening, and then when his world gets shattered, you know how shattered his world just got because you know what Wally's life is, and he's like kind of content with it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's so
Oh,
brilliant.
he's so sweet. Oh,
Yeah.
all right, Dick. I'm gonna put 2 minutes on the cookie timer.
All right.
You're gonna summarize Wally. Do you need any help with any of the names?
There's Wally,
Uh-huh.
and then other characters.
Correct.
I'll do my best.
All right, here you go.
2 minutes. Okay. So Wally is a robot. He cleans up trash and he likes Hello Dolly. And that's all the plot of the first 30 minutes. And it's okay because it's so good. And then this other robot crash lands on this planet. And that robot's name is Eve. But, he calls her Eva because he's not good at talking. And Wally really wants to hold Eve's hand because he saw it in Hello Dolly. And Eve is on a mission, and Wally follows her around, and Eve finds a plant, or rather, Wally has found a plant and gives it to Eve, and this completes Eve's mission, which causes Eve to go into like a hibernative state and get picked up by a spaceship. Wally's like, yo, my friend, you gotta come back and hang out with me. And Wally gets onto the spaceship and tries to save Eve. Here comes a lot of plot for reasons. On this spaceship, there's a bunch of humans, and those humans are like kind of fat and lazy. They don't really talk to each other or look at each other. There's a captain on that spaceship, and he's like kind of a captain, but also his steering wheel seems to run things. Anyway, Eva has a plant in her, and they get the plant out of her. And then they're like, hey, we're going to go back to Earth. And the captain's like, cool, we're going to do this. But the robot autopilot, turns out he has secret instructions from the CEO of Earth, who's like, hey, you can't go back. The cleaning up didn't work. That's Fred Willard. It's awesome.
It is Fred Willard.
And so the captain has to beat up the steering wheel, and Wally has to help Eve, and Eve has to get Wally a new like microchip, and then they all go to Earth together and people hold hands.
They sure do hold hands.
The simplicity of the first half is my favorite part.
I understand. I love the reveal. I mean, you're getting hints in that first 30 minutes. There's like some old Fred Willard CEO clips playing of so he's like the CEO of By and Large.
By and large,
Right.
the company so it's
basically Amazon before like the 2008
which was
prediction
Walmart,
of
I think.
which is like Walmart, but
yeah, he's the CEO of a company. So all the people on the ship
so it seemed to take based on his backgrounds, it seemed like the company pretty much took over Earth, like replaced government.
Sure.
And then they made too much trash because they were a consumer economy.
Yeah.
And then several ships went up into space for a 5-year cruise, right? Like that's what you're getting kind of foreshadowed in this first part.
Right.
But that reveal later on, spoilers, that this ship has been now running for 700 years, I just thought was so cool. Like, I liked the dystopian reveals in that second half, and maybe it's, where I was in 2008. Like, but I just thought it was so cool. Like, I don't really know what's happening on this weird desert planet that, is Earth. And then I don't know what's happening in this spaceship. Like, there's
Interesting.
all of this mystique, and then slowly the pieces come together and you realize what's happened. And I'll be with you that maybe it's not quite as like fantastic of a story once it's all put together of like what actually happened.
Yeah.
But I like the reveals. And for me, on the first watch, that was what made the second half so fun.
So interesting is that I did not consider this film to have reveals. Because, of course, it's Earth.
Yeah. Yes.
And like,
I guess, of course, it's Earth.
Like,
but,
of course,
why aren't the people there?
Of course it's been hundreds of years. Look how much trash this robot has cleaned up.
Yeah, but you see all those, like, robots that don't work anymore.
Yeah.
You don't know what pace they were going at before.
Oh, so to me, that was a story of, like, this is the lone survivor on this planet. There's Wall-E, there's a cockroach, and nothing else because it's been that long.
Okay.
Like, that's kind of the narrative that I took from that. So when it was like, oh, we've been up here 700 years, I'm like, yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I'm aware.
I'm aware.
I saw the beginning of this movie. Yeah. Yeah, and I really like some of the ideas in this movie, and I wish they were either carried out further or made a little more specific. Like, I like the idea of the by and large CEO kind of being in charge of humanity. But is he in charge of humanity? Was that just like a company town? Is that just
the ships
America?
were by and large, yeah.
Are there, right? So like there's a video game that I've started playing twice, and I will get through it, called The Outer Worlds. And in Outer Worlds, space exploration and colonization is handled by different companies rather than like countries or anything. So you don't you don't pledge allegiance to the flag of America. You pledge allegiance to the flag of, by and large or whatever. Yeah. And it has a lot of interesting things to say about privatization and about commoditization and all that sort of stuff. Where I feel like Wall-E kind of gets to like these people are fat and lazy, when it's like, it's not their fault they're fat and lazy. They were like, they are operating under false pretenses because they were tricked into staying up in space for 700 years.
Do you
like
think
generations of them?
This is neat. So my read is that they just didn't find plants for 700 years. I'm not sure that it's necessarily tricked. It's just Earth is uninhabitable until we find green. And so, like, they thought it was going to be 5 years, but...
They thought it was going to be 5 years, but we do see that the CEO sent a message while he was alive.
That's true.
Saying, hey, you know what? The cleanup isn't working. You guys can't come home. But none of the people on the spaceship were aware of that.
Right. Well, it says go into autopilot, and so the machines take over.
Right. So
it could have been that other Evas had come back in those 700 years.
That could be, but it also could be that the Earth hasn't been habitable since then. But no one knew that. They never, like, the CEO said, keep this secret. And, like, so these people were, like, living their life on this ship, thinking, like, oh, we're just waiting for a rescue thing and then we'll go back to Earth or whatever. And, like, that was never the case. They needed to start rebuilding society, but they were under the impression that their job was something else.
Yeah. No, that's fair.
And I guess I really want more of that. I wanted to see the people, like, be a little upset about that.
But if that's all you've, I mean, it's 700 years.
Yeah.
They and their like 6 great grandparents grew up on that ship.
Yeah.
So I think for me, that's something that's interesting too, of like this place that like maybe we've heard about, but like
Yeah.
it's never been accessible to me or any of my
Yeah.
family whose name I know. And then all of a sudden this opens up this kind of like Eden like idea
Yeah.
of like, oh, we can go. I mean, you see the pilot of the ship kind of go through all of this like what is earth,
Right.
what is sea, what is
Right.
plant, like they don't even know those terms.
Yeah.
But it's neat that like they kind of have these instincts that once they are told about it, they're like, oh yeah, I guess we should do this.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
so that's neat. I think it's there's something to say about like nature and nurture and kind of
Right.
instincts versus
And I do think it's interesting, and I think I feel like for this captain story, who's like kind of a secondary main character for a while.
So you mean like the Jeff Garland character, not
Yeah.
the Fred Willard? Yeah.
Yeah, the Jeff Garland, who I thought was Seth Rogen character. I feel like we don't get to spend enough time with him for his payoff to really work. I want him to like be like, I feel like I want more of him than Earth is neat, let's do it.
Yeah.
I want like a no, I can't do that, or oh, that sounds really hard, we shouldn't do that. Like I want like a little refusal or a little fear or something.
Yeah.
Again, I feel like I'm nitpicking this movie because I've had the argument about Wall-E a lot. I think a lot of it with you. But I really, for the way the first half of the movie tells me everything I need to know without saying anything,
Yeah.
for the second half of the movie to then tell me everything, it kind of bums me out.
Yeah. I definitely see that.
Yeah.
And it tells more than what I had remembered too. So if the setup doesn't maybe quite pay off in the second and third acts of Wall-E,
Yeah.
let's look back at Happy Feet.
Yes. A much better film.
What is being set up and what pays off, if anything? And I guess the larger question is, what went wrong?
Australians. I know
Australians trying to do their environmentally friendly movies.
I like
You end up with some miscast Robin Williams,
I like
spending too
Australians.
much time in a role, and
Yeah. I mean, it's Fern Gully.
Yeah.
It's a movie with Australians trying to tell an environmental message along with Robin Williams, and it
but Fern Gully sticks to one message, right? Like Fern
Yeah.
Gully is a mess, but it's a different kind of mess
Yeah.
than Happy Feet, which doesn't even introduce what ends up being like
Yeah.
the main story.
well, Happy Feet.
I guess the end story.
Happy Feet ends at like the 45-minute.
Yeah, it does.
It's like every Marvel movie, or basically now like every blockbuster movie. They do one movie and then they're like, well, I guess we got time. Let's do another movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. It like Happy Feet McStuffins is what's his name? Mumble McHappy Feet
Mumble McHappy Feet.
is a penguin who can't sing. He can only dance, and he's not sure if he can find love because penguins find love through singing. And then he goes on a journey, and then he comes back, and then he dances, and then the what's her name, Gloria, the penguin that he fancies, she's like, oh yeah, I'm into this. Let's do this.
Her heart song matches well with his tap rhythms, and it works.
And they pair off, and then there's a big dance number, and the movie
Should be over then.
because everything like there's like a tiny little thing that hasn't been resolved, which is like he saw a crane at some point and didn't know what it was.
Well, and so before we get into the second movie with that crane, even in the first movie, there's a little bit of like his community still doesn't accept his dancing,
Right.
and his father still doesn't accept his dancing. So there's
Right.
like, I can see if this isn't the end of a movie. As long as it continues to be the same movie, I think there is a little bit more story to tell, and, the
like,
stakes are higher. and-
Gloria works with him to change everyone's
Right,
mind.
right.
This is a movie about a penguin who cannot sing and can only dance.
He is different in a way that is not already accepted by his community.
Yeah.
And he needs to overcome the prejudices and the stigma to be who he truly is.
And then
And then the director, who is it? You know, George.
oh god,
Yeah,
it's
it's
George
Mad Max, right?
It's George Miller,
Yeah.
one of the most brilliant action directors of all time. He does not need to do animation.
He is the one that said, he's like, well, we pretty much had this movie figured out. But then I said, you know, it's Antarctica. We can't not talk about like the environment when we're in Antarctica.
Yeah.
And he
So
and
in
he followed through on that. He couldn't not talk about it, and then it
in, like-
became half of the content of the movie.
yeah, in the first act or the first half or whatever, they mention that there's like some overfishing, or they don't. They just like our fish haven't been here so much,
Right.
and they're like,
There's
well,
some animals with some human like artifacts on them. Like either they've been like tagged for
Mm-hmm.
science, or there's the pop can thing.
yeah, and it's like that's something that I would not be surprised for a movie just to throw in. Like that's okay. I feel like that happens in Finding Nemo, where like a bird has a thing on him or something. I don't know, but it's not presented as a big. It's. I did not see it as an important part of the movie.
Yeah.
It was not presented that way because the most important part of the movie was the singing and the dancing.
The happy feet, the titular happy feet.
So then, what? Oh my God! Wait, what happens?
So there are some hints, and
Happy Mumble Happy Feet decides to leave.
I think he's more like shunned, essentially. Like
Right, he's
less harshly shunned by his peers, but they're like, we're not going to interact with you. So he
He's-
just kind of floats off.
he's like excommunicated, kind of.
Yeah.
From Penguin Land, and then he goes to a different Penguin Land where he meets Robin Williams doing like a Mexican accent,
Yeah.
and Robin Williams doing like a
Very white.
very white accent.
And I think the whole second act is really unclear. I think, or like why it's there is unclear. I think his goal is, if I can figure out what's eating the fish,
Yeah.
I can save my community, and
they'll
won't-
accept
and
me
they'll
again.
accept me again. So then he's on that quest.
He quickly casts off Gloria for
Yeah, so part of this
reasons.
adventure, like halfway through this new adventure, that scene that you're talking about happens where he does like tap and Gloria falls in love with him.
yeah.
They're gonna mate, and then he has to go on an additional adventure.
No, he gets like excommunicated. Wait, oh my God.
No, he meets Barry White Penguin twice.
Yeah, that's fair.
The first time, he doesn't get the information that he needs because the guy's like, "Nah, no aliens. I don't know what you're talking
The
about."
first time he gets excommunicated, then he comes back. He does the tappy dance.
Gloria falls in love
with
and
him.
she's like, "I'm with you. I'm gonna solve this case with you." But he's
But
like,
then-
"No, it's too dangerous."
yeah, he like
And does
leaves-
like a Harry and the Hendersons. "I don't love you. I never loved you."
Well, no, hold on, because he gets like kicked out again,
Oh yeah,
and
he gets clicked. Yeah, for dancing.
and
Oh my
then
gosh. Oh my gosh.
she comes and meets him
Right.
in like other
She runs
Penguin
after him.
Land, and he's like, "I go away. I don't like you."
Yeah, I would not be surprised if that scene was thrown in there because they like forgot about her and had animated the last part of the movie without her, and we're like, "Oh, now we need a way for her to not be in those scenes that we already animated."
George,
So-
George, George, we got a problem.
We
forgot
rearranged the scenes too many times, and
girl penguin was following him into Act 2, and then we animated all of Act 2
2.5.
without her.
like it's not.
Yeah, Act 5.
Act 5.
Yeah,
This is almost a 2-hour movie.
This
is 150, I believe.
It's ridiculous.
WALL-E's 140, and that
This movie is longer than WALL-E. It's almost as long as Star Wars.
yeah,
No, thank you.
yeah.
So, Mumble McHappyFeet goes with his problematically voiced
Problematic friends,
penguin friends.
and they discover more and more clues, and then he comes back a third. No, that's only after he gets captured for the zoo.
And then they go through like some elephant seals to the end of the world where he finds a boat. There's like an icebreaker boat, a butt. And then he gets caught in like a fish net. I think
He ends up in a zoo. What's important is
he
that
ends up in a zoo. And
So then when he comes back to his colony to be
hold
like,
on,
hey
hold
guys,
on, he's in the zoo.
we already did the cookie timer
Okay.
summary. They know this part.
I
know
don't.
you're trying to figure it out
I
for
don't know
yourself.
this part.
You're trying to parse through.
No, that's fair. That's fair.
What happens is that there's like an interesting scene that brings it all together. That
In this movie?
yes,
Oh.
that they didn't do anything with after the moment.
Oh.
There's like that moment where the grumpy penguin king like says like, you and your like different feet and your foreign friends, you're the reason that we don't have any fish. And Mumble's like, no, it's something bigger. So like I think at that point you're like, is this about Brexit? And it's like, no, this was 2006. Like
Yeah, because there was like this conversation where like some of the penguins are dancing and some of the penguins are just chanting, and the chanting penguins are like, he says the word remain like several times, and I'm like, are we talking about voting about remaining in the EU? What's this supposed to be? But no, it's just unclear.
So there's a glimmer of a very complex idea that is actually now more relevant than ever, that like these outcasts of the community are being scapegoated for something that they refuse to understand,
Right.
that's bigger than all of them, right? Like
Like
it's,
all the things.
it's the gays and the immigrants are why we keep getting
the
flooded.
gays are taking our job.
Nope, it's climate change. Like, so there's a seed of an idea there, but they never tie it together. And it's not even, what I learned in this viewing of it is, in my mind, it was very like, first half, penguins sing and dance. Second half, the environment. And they're just like kind of scattered in between like a drunk checkerboard. And that made it worse too.
Yeah.
Because, like, anytime it came back to, like, oh, I'm interested in this Mumble's relationship with his family and community, then it would take us out again. And anyway.
Or there'd just be a dance about it.
So I think point WALL-E for kind of, even if it's heavy-handed in the second half,
between
it's all
these
woven
two,
together.
all the points to Wall.
All the points.
Come on.
Plus, it has Hello Dolly, your faves.
You know what? It was very bad on stage.
It was not fun to watch.
I want to believe them.
Bernadette Peters, great. That show still wasn't
What we
fun
could
to
see
watch.
of her.
Yeah.
Because she was staged so that anyone in the cheap seats couldn't see her half the time. But I still hold that the movie is probably serviceable.
So
It's got an extra song written just for Babs.
Hello Dolly, not WALL-E.
Right. Mm-hmm. Right.
Hello WALL-E.
Right. Barbra Streisand does not sing an original song for WALL-E, but she should.
Prince sings an original song for Happy Feet.
Yes, he
Before we
does.
come back there, Dick, tell us about how. So one specific, two songs from Hello Dolly are used. Because what's that slower one?
Yeah. So it's Put On Your Sunday Shoes, and then oh god, it's not. It only takes a moment. It's
the hands holding one.
Yeah, hold on. I'll look up the title.
Yeah,
of
it's
it.
okay. And this is the only non-score music in the movie. It's a Pixar, so the characters aren't singing. And And so it's an interesting choice to have the only and the conceit is that Wally is a collector of garbage he thinks is interesting as he's like sorting it and packing it. And one of the things he has in his like Ariel's secret grotto of a trash compactor home is a VHS of Hello Dolly,
Yeah.
or maybe I don't know how.
That's a VHS.
That he just watches on repeat, and maybe just the specific scene he watches on repeat.
I believe the song is called "Love Is Only Love."
Oh, good.
Uh-huh.
I'm glad someone took the time to write that title.
Oh yeah.
So what? Okay, as someone who is more familiar with Hello Dolly, because like my mind just blacked out as we watched that show.
I understand.
Why do you think that was the choice that the music people and the director chose for Wally?
I mean, so there's a couple things, I think. One, it's old-fashioned and optimistic. So it kind of doesn't give you a vibe of the year, which I think is one of the things I really like about Wall-E, is it's not like 2477.
It does do that once, but
Does it? What year is it?
it's like 2110, I think, when they leave Earth, or shortly after. Like, it's referenced somewhere with Fred Willard. That,
When
like,
they leave Earth.
Yeah.
But like we don't know. I guess
Well,
we could
we
do the
do
math.
know now,
I
but
guess
yeah.
we could do the math. But yeah, I like that I'm kind of left going, okay, is this an alternate Earth? Like
at that time, yeah.
right, like it reminds me, I'm just gonna keep going back to video games. Mm-hmm. It reminds me of the Fallout series, which is one of my favorite series of games, except for Fallout Tactics, and to an extent Fallout 4. Anyway,
Fallout Boy.
Fallout Boy is named after the Fallout.
No,
series.
is it?
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
I thought I was making a joke.
No, Pip Boy is a thing from Fallout. So they kind of combine those.
Huh.
I believe
Okay, well, that's canon now.
it's canon, and that's canon. So, yeah, Fallout is set in the post-apocalypse, and the apocalypse happens in like the nuclear age of like the 50s, 60s. So all of the music in this kind of weird retro future wasteland is like from the 40s and 50s. So even though it sounds like old music, it's like the newest music they have. So Wall-E kind of made me think about that. It kind of made me think, oh, where are we? Where is society? Is this like, he's got a VHS, he's got a VCR, right? So I know kind of like we at least got to the 1980s, but like where did we get? When did this happen?
Yeah, that's
right?
fair.
And also, like, if it happened in 2110, why does he still have a VCR? Did Wall-E rob a museum? But it's really interesting, and I think it really sets a good tone. The other thing about Hello Dolly is that it is, if not the last, it's one of the last big budget like MGM musicals.
I mean, it was the one that made them stop making musicals, right?
Yeah.
Because it did so poorly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's optimistic in a way that I think media isn't anymore. Generally, it's like love's the only thing, and that's all, and we're not worried about anything else. Even though this is set in the like 1800s, and there's massive inequality all over. Everyone's happy. Everyone's smiling. So there's like an optimism to Hello Dolly, which I think sets really nicely against this incredibly stark backdrop of Wall-E.
It's a creepy. It's how the movie begins.
Yeah.
Is with this Hello Dolly soundtrack and this like forgotten apocalyptic land. It's very creepy and very cool.
Which is how every Fallout trailer has gone
Hey.
ever. And it's great.
Yeah.
And I said it in Wall-E, I'm like, yeah, I don't care. Happy song or a sweet song over a post-apocalyptic landscape. Every time works for me. Love it.
Yeah, and I think there's something in the Put On Your Sunday Shoes is a big old ensemble number where everyone's like dancing together and holding hands, which is the stark opposite of what's happening inside the Axiom ship with everyone like just isolated in their own little screen helmets. And,
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Dick, you did a great job explaining why Hello Dolly is in WALL-E.
Thank you.
You want to tell me just some thoughts on like why? Oh, like tell me something good, somebody to love. I wish, jump and move, do it again, Beach Boys. My Way in Spanish. Kiss,
yeah.
Heartbreak Hotel, Boogie Wonderland. I mean, that all makes sense in Happy Feet in the same general way that Hello Dolly makes sense in WALL-E, right?
Well, I mean, let me ask you this: what company put out Happy Feet?
I believe it was Warner Brothers.
Warner
so
Brothers.
It's probably a bunch of
And
people in Warner Brothers
hold on.
music.
Let me ask you this: what label are Prince, the Beach Boys?
Are they all Warner Brothers?
I assume so.
Yeah.
Otherwise, why have so much licensed music?
Yeah.
So much of it.
Yeah.
Like nonstop.
At least it made a little bit more sense than like Megamind's licensed music. I mean,
Where it's like,
Megamind had a conceit, but they never told you about it.
but it's like Megamind is listening to AC/DC.
Right.
That is why we're playing AC/DC.
Yeah. Whereas like these are all heart songs. Like
Kinda.
it's neat. Yeah, like if you saw Moulin Rouge and you thought it was cool, and you're like, oh, I'm reading penguins have heart songs. They can see in the dark. They're blind when they're born.
No,
It writes itself.
I like Moulin Rouge, and I'm entertained by Cats. Do not compare either to this movie. This movie bummed me out. One thing that's interesting that both of these movies do, if you don't mind me just completely jumping,
No, go for it.
is they have regular humans,
Oh
and
yeah.
I think they both have animated humans as well. Like WALL-E for sure has videos of humans.
I think in both cases they are like a lightly mocapped, like lightly skinned
Sure.
human, but they look very much like humans.
But, like,
they don't look like Pixar humans. They don't look like Andy in Toy Story.
At least in
They look like faces.
At least in Happy Feet, it is credited as, like, they are not credited as like animated humans.
But I think they are like. Sorry, I may be remembering something different. I may be remembering some WALL-E credits because I feel like I saw. I guess maybe those were like the motion capture tap dancers.
Yeah.
But like there was a whole list, and I thought it said like mocap human division, but maybe I misread
Maybe.
or.
Anyway, there's regular looking humans. Fred Willard is definitely just, it's a video of
Yeah,
Fred
Willard is just video,
with a light effect on it.
but it's like grainy and yeah.
So you see an actual human,
Yeah.
and then you see these cartoon blob humans. Is there any disconnect for you in WALL-E?
So I think these movies use this function somewhat similarly. Is that it's like somewhat for shock value, that like you are encapsulated in this world, and then especially for Happy Feet, I think the first time you see humans is when he's in the zoo.
He's
so
in
it's
the
a
zoo.
totally like
He's looking
disorienting
through the glass at them. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's disorienting for Mumble, it's disorienting for you as a viewer, and I actually think it works there where I'm like, oh, I'm in a different. I mean, had the movie not already changed courses like 7 times before this point, it'd be like, oh,
if
this is
the movie
interesting.
had been effective leading up to that scene.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So I noticed though in WALL-E, there's right like you said humans are like in the video segments more so. So I noticed that, I guess starting with Fred Willard, so there's the sequence of portraits of captains of the ship over the 700 years. They go from like mocap human
Right.
to computer
To
animated.
more and more animated. Yeah.
And they get doughier and they get like bone loss and thing.
Right.
I think that's a neat. I'm not sure that it's like 100% successful, but I like the metaphor as like, and in those pictures too, the sequence, the steering wheel, the kind of like HAL gets larger and larger in each, like
Right.
it comes closer and closer to the human, as if to suggest on parallel tracks, like the more we disconnect from where we are from, and the more we allow technology to be in charge,
Right.
the less human we become. Right? Again, it's a little heavy-handed,
And
it's literally, it's like pictorially spelled out in those portraits.
it's not necessarily the message of the movie.
I think it is a message of the movie.
It's a possible message of the movie.
One thing that did kind of frustrate me when this movie came out is people are like, oh, then it's just about the environment in the second half. And I'm like, I'm not sure that's true. I think it's about connection. Like, I think there is a strong theme, it's in that hand-holding kind of symbol. There's a strong theme of, like, we're losing connectedness.
Yeah.
And, like, yeah, that's the reason that the earth is trashed and there's no more plant life on it. But, the only way they're going to be able to rebuild the earth is by working together, by getting out of their
Yeah.
Google Glass, getting out of our, what are those vehicles? They're like car seats for adults.
Cribs. We're calling them cribs.
Yeah. Yeah. Like getting out of our pods, because it is easy. I mean, we're in quarantine right now. We're still recording in quarantine. And, we've talked about this, is that one of the things that this is showing is that a lot more people can work from home than what institutions would have us believe.
Mm-hmm.
And in some ways that's really great. Like, we can save on commuting and people don't have to use cars as much, and it's good for the environment, and your time is your own and you don't feel like you have to put in this exact amount of time at work. And
It's awesome.
yeah. And I think it is awesome for a lot of people, but it's like how much when quarantine is lifted and say we're still working at home because people have just figured out that it's more cost efficient and everything. When do we go out and connect to people? Or does it
Right.
become habit because it's easier to just, well, I'm already at my desk, I'll just order in and I'll do, like, kind of that. I'm not saying that the slippery slope would happen right away, because I think when quarantine ends, people are going to want to see each other, and then we're going to have to be in quarantine again. But,
Speaking
but like
for me,
that's like the dystopia in my mind of
Yeah.
like the end result of all this,
Yeah.
like literal insulation of our lives, is that like how soon are we the Wall-E squishy people?
Speaking for me and no one else, I am really excited to continue working from home and never go to an office again. I am also very excited to go out for drinks after work with my office mates
Yeah,
and see my friends because I'm not exhausted from being on a train
absolutely.
or any of that sort of stuff.
Right.
Like for me, this is, I will see my friends more, I believe. Mm-hmm. So we'll see.
Yeah.
High hopes.
But it's interesting, right? Because a thesis of this movie is that you can't get as much done isolate. Like, there are certain things maybe that you can't get done, like rebuilding a planet Earth, if you aren't together. And I wonder I'm not disagreeing with what you're saying,
Cool.
but
Hey, you know what?
anyway, holding hands is nice.
Yeah, hold my hand.
Aw,
Yay! We
Aw.
live together. We can do that.
we do.
We don't have to social distance.
One more thing about the movie,
Okay.
or about the music, because I feel like you're wrapping up.
Yes,
which is
I am.
Fine. I will say that the wild diversity of the music used in Happy Feet, I think I understand the premise of, like, there is, right, like, what is the song called that it's like a jungle sometimes? It makes me wonder. Don't push me, cause what is the actual title of that song? Anyway, so there's like hip hop in it, and there's like the Mumble's mom and dad use "Kiss" by Prince and "Heartbreak Hotel" by Elvis, and they sing to each other. There's so there's like rock and roll, and there's like 80s, and there's disco, and there's hip hop, and so it feeds into this fact that every penguin has a different personality, and that it's not, you don't have to sing the same song. You have to sing a song that, like,
You have to sing your song.
fits with someone else's song in a harmonious way. I like that idea. I don't think it is used to any sort of, like, greater effect, but that is one a point I will give to the otherwise seemingly random and chaotic soundtrack is that they're all very different songs for very different penguins.
I think that's fair.
So wrapping up.
So, hey, Kate, it's time for the final cut. We're going to wrap this up. You
Sure
ready?
is. Mm-hmm.
Kate,
Yeah.
scene shout out.
Mm-hmm.
Pick a scene from. Let's start with Wall-E. Pick a scene from Wall-E.
Yeah.
Scene that you thought was very effective.
Yeah.
Shout it out. Go.
My favorite scene in Wall-E, and it is because of earlier scenes. My favorite scene in Wall-E is when the human woman Mary, Wall-E like bumps into her at some point, asks to get past her to get to Eva, and it ends up like deactivating her technology shield.
Mm-hmm.
And she is seeing the spaceship for the first time. It's like, we have a pool? What is this? And then as she's like traveling around the ship and exploring, there's a scene later that she bumps into another human you've met, John, deactivates his space shield.
Yeah.
And then they're looking at Wall-E and Eva dancing in space together. And then they bump hands.
Yeah.
And then they like hold hands. And so it's this lovely, like, you know, using that motif and coming back. But that's why I can't discredit the second after this movie, because it's like, oh, they are literally connecting for the first time in their lives. You see how the babies are raised on this ship. Like, they may be the first humans in 500 years to touch hands, right? Like, we don't know how babies are made in this universe.
I was going to say, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's not totally clear, but yeah.
But, like, how powerful of a moment that is, that this is what Wall-E wanted all along, because he saw, you know, Barbara Streisand or whatever hold a hand. Like, this robot wants that, and then these humans don't even know that they were missing it. I just love it.
So cool. That's a very well explained
Hands.
thing. This is hard because I just want to shout out everything that happens in Wall-E until Eva lands. That's what I'm doing. I'm shouting out everything that happens in Wall-E until Eva lands. That's my scene.
Do you have a moment that, like, if someone's like, why do you like that? Be like, oh, for example, it doesn't have to be the be-all, end-all moment.
No, that's fair. That's fair. All right. Here's my moment. Wall-E gets back to his ship after a long day of work. He unpacks his lunch pail, and it's just stuff he found that he has, for some reason, decided is important. It's also trash. He's been compacting trash all day.
Yeah.
And he saves pieces of trash that he thinks are important for some reason. Like a boot. What's he going to do with a boot? What is a boot for him? Dunno. He's found a boot.
Yeah.
He found a hubcap that he's kind of like using as a hat to be a Hello Dolly dancer. But there's just like a lot of items that he has decided are important. And I think it's really interesting to look at and think, why did Wall-E decide that was important? Because, you know, it takes time to animate something. It takes time to storyboard something. So presumably, whatever animator or storyboard artist or whatever did figure that out.
Yeah, they
had reasons for that. So I just find that really interesting and really, really sweet, because you kind of see the innocence of Wall-E. He's very childlike there.
Yeah.
Being like, I found this thing. It's important.
Yeah.
Just like when I was a kid and I found a shiny rock and I was like, this rock is the most important thing
So important.
in my life. Yeah.
That's lovely.
Yeah. Hey, Kate, a shout out a scene from Penguins of Madagascar.
Happy Feet.
Happy Feet of Madagascar.
The Christmas special of the Penguins of Madagascar. Very funny.
Penguins of Happy Feet.
Doom 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 doom. Is how the scene starts. Mumbles Baby Penguin. It's the beginning to I Wish by Stevie Wonder. And Mumble Baby Penguin, he's still a baby at this point. he's like very sad because he can't do a heart song, and he's very sad because this thing that happens with his feet, no one will pay attention to him for, and people think it's weird, and they're trying to teach it out of him. And he goes out to this like little cliffside, and he just starts tapping, and it just starts with like tap 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 tap, and then the Stevie Wonder song comes under for reasons, right? But then you get this wonderful little penguin dance with these little like bustling feet, and I understand that I understand all your problems with like the can they tap well or not.
I can't see
But
his feet.
But his little arms are flapping, and he does like woo moves, and he does like poses, and it's so cute. The choreography, when that trailer came out, I like watched it over and over and it is something that still, like, if I'm having a bad day, it's one of those videos I can pull back from like my just mental archives, and it makes me smile every time.
Kate, if I were to ask you to
Yeah.
tell the audience your top 2 favorite dancers of all time,
Yeah.
who would you say?
Baby Mumble Penguin
Incorrect, but
and
sure.
Mickey Mouse
Uh-huh.
and Detective Pikachu.
There we go.
Yeah. They all do some really good footwork.
Yeah, Kate knows,
Yeah.
to an extent at least, the Phantasmic choreography from the light show that or the fireworks and light show that closes Hollywood Studios
And I believe Disneyland as well.
and Disneyland, which Mickey Mouse
yeah.
does, and she learned the Detective Pikachu exercise video.
Yeah. I believe we have already talked about the Detective Pikachu exercise video on this show. It deserves
great.
as many mentions as we can give it.
Let's
but
mention it every episode.
Great.
Great.
It's great. Just little fuzzball, but that's a specific, the Detective Pikachu and the Mumble Dance are very specific, like little fuzzy guys lifting their limbs as high as they can,
Yeah.
which is not very
Not
far.
very high.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's great. Dick, what's your favorite scene of Happy Feet?
I thought you'd forget.
Scene shout out.
Ugh. Okay,
You didn't care about that scene, so I know I'm not stealing it from you.
No.
I'm just having a blast over here, and you're just kind of looking at me like,
I was like, what in the
oh, this is your favorite scene. Uh-oh, I'm in trouble. Like,
Yeah. You were
it
like,
doesn't get better than this.
yeah, you told me that movie was going to have a big change in the middle, and I was like, oh, so it's going to get good in the middle. And
No.
you're like, no. Uh-oh.
Like, the singing and dancing is the good part. If you don't like it, you're out of luck.
There's a scene where Mumble, Happy Feet,
Mumble Happy Feet. They do refer to him by the name Happy Feet several times. Unclear
Yeah.
whether it's a nickname,
they say like Mr. Happy Feet or something.
which sounds like a nickname, and then they say Mumble Happy Feet as
Yeah.
if it's his last name.
It is his last name.
But it's not Memphis Happy
His
Feet
name
or Norma
is Mumble
Jean.
Happy Feet.
Great. Canon.
Thank you. So, there's a scene. I don't remember where it happens. I guess when he's like first exiled or runs away, he's being chased by a seal. And it's very frightening because the seal is very fast.
Yeah.
And has a very big mouth.
Yeah.
And then Mumble jumps up
Dinosaur.
onto the ice, and he meets Robin Williams doing a Cheech Marin impression.
Yeah.
And they kind of do a thing where they're like, aha, we are on land. The seal is stronger in the water, but we are stronger on land. So they like kind of make fun of him for being slow, and they kind of mock him, and then he ends up back in the water. So I liked that because it was the first thing that happened in the movie. And I liked that.
Yeah, it's the first genuine laugh.
It's the first laugh, but it's also like there's some action.
Right.
There's some excitement.
There's introducing characters in like an interesting way. Like, we've never met these guys before, and this is what we're being shown about them. So, yeah.
Yeah. I will also give a tiny shout out to the scene with the orcas later. It doesn't make a lot of sense because the orcas have penguins in their mouths, and it seems like they want to eat
And
them.
they still can't eat. They're just bad at eating.
And they like spit them out. It's unclear, but they're animated to look very scary, and it's very effective.
They look really cool. Yeah. Like, very scary, but also like, what do we know orcas from? Like
Right.
SeaWorld and Free Willy. So I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, an orca. Oh, yeah, they have teeth.
Oh yeah,
like,
they eat things.
It's like, oh, so cute.
Yeah, they're like very
Like panda fish.
majestic, but also intimidating.
Yeah. All right, that's good.
What about you, Kate?
I already said.
We'll do another
Would you
one.
like me to describe that scene again?
No.
Because you loved it so much.
No.
Dick,
Never.
if you were to declare an MVP of these
A most valuable penguin?
fancy footwork, tread work movies,
Yeah.
what would you name?
Okay, so my MVP of these two movies, and I'm not going to name the one I thought I was going to name, is going to be Mr. Thomas Montgomery Newman.
Oh.
Tom Newman was the composer for WALL-E.
Oh.
He made gorgeous music throughout,
I thought it was Giacchino. Nice.
and he did just absolutely beautiful music
Yeah.
throughout. He managed to keep the score sparse enough when the world was sparse that it didn't like override anything. I was never distracted by it, but I did notice a couple of times bringing in themes from Hello Dolly into both the score and like the special effects. Like there was a robot that went beep 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 beep, which is great. And I love when a film does that in a creative way. So Tom Newman, good job. What about you?
It's a good ensemble, a good ensemble work on WALL-E. Like, everything works together so well. I'm going to just, my heart is giving it to Fred Willard.
Yeah.
Fred Willard's the best. And we were like sad. I feel like it's maybe one of the first, like celebrity passings that like both of us as a couple were like, oh, like Fred,
Yeah.
right? Cause like, it's like some like, musician that or some actor that I know, but it's just like
10 different wrestlers that I know.
yeah, like,
They die a lot.
yeah, well,
It's a bummer.
they have a hard job.
Yeah.
Fred Willard is great in this movie. Like
Yeah.
he's used sparingly, but he makes the most out of every scene he's in, even if it's just Wally passing by a screen of him saying what was the pun he made?
Oh
It's
God,
like
I
a
don't remember.
fantastic. It was something slightly better than that, but just as
Yeah.
cheesy. And he just delivers it like a Fred Willard. Like you get to see the Fred Willard. Everything is okay, and you're not going to see any of my incompetence here. No, you're not. And then you see like the Fred Willard having a breakdown later.
Well,
It's great.
everything's not okay. Yeah, Fred Willard is a genius.
And I feel like it's a works well with Muppet situation that like his live action does not seem out of place in an animated movie.
No. Yeah.
So I mean that's good technical integration and good direction and good everything, but
but
it
also
just,
the strength of the actor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
go Fred Willard.
Oh, man. Rest in peace to a real one. Also, like one of the few good parts of Space Force.
Yeah.
He's great in that show. That show's
Space Force not a great show.
not wonderful.
okay.
Kate,
Yep.
if you're going to do a crossover, crossing over a character or a creator or something from these two movies, what would you cross over?
Yeah. So, you know how like famous people on their own do like these epic dance duets, like Fred Astaire and Shirley Temple, or like Paula Abdul and the Cat, right? Like
Do you think Shirley Temple is an animated character?
No. I didn't say animated character. I
You said
these,
on
like,
their own. You said famous people on their own do these dance numbers.
No. Famous.
And then your descriptions were Paula Abdul and a cat.
The joke was the cat, not Shirley Temple. Keep up.
The
The cat's not a famous person on its own. Anyway, you know how
Are you saying MC Scat Cat is not famous?
like champions of their field, right? And then you're like, oh, a duet with that person. I didn't expect that, but look,
Sure.
this is so fun.
Sure.
Mumble and Wally. I want them to do Put On Your Sunday Clothes together. Mumble gets a tap solo. Wally gets to do work with some maybe fancier treads and like do his hubcap dance. I want to see a duet dance number.
Nice.
Yeah.
I have the same crossover.
Oh,
But I want to see Mumble
okay.
get inside of Wally and get compacted.
Oh. At
No.
least make it one of the Robin Williams offensive
Oh
characters.
my God, those things. So if I'm going to do a crossover, here's what I do. I put Fred Willard also in Happy Feet.
Automatically better.
Like he can be like one of the people guiding a penguin feeding or something. I don't know. Just
Yeah. Put him in there.
save that movie.
Yeah. I like it.
Yeah.
Dick, it's time for the final.
Wait, is it really?
Yeah. Final.
Final.
Cut.
Cut.
Now it's too many.
Cut.
That's fine. So, start in chronological order. Happy Feet. Do you?
Wally.
No.
I thought we were doing them in chronological order. You said Happy Feet. I said Wally. That was chronological.
The final cut is the
Yeah.
section where we take one movie at a time, whatever order we put them in, and decide whether we think this movie should be re-released as is, whether we would create some sort of special edition, or whether we would throw it in the vault. What do you do with Happy Feet? That's okay. You're looking at me with a grin. I understand.
I hated this movie.
Yeah.
I was so
That's okay.
bored. There's like I've been bored in movies before, right? Like Yellow Submarine was boring and bewildering, but like there was something of value there.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing of value in this movie for me. It was like Nicole Kidman was doing like a weird Megan Tilly, Marilyn Monroe
This is what I'm saying. It's Moulin Rouge.
impression the whole time.
Someone saw Moulin Rouge and wanted more.
Like good job giving Hugh Jackman a song he can sing. Take note every musical after
That
this.
was really nice, right? His first note in Heartbreak Hotel. It
Yeah.
was, well.
It's like,
he
oh.
gets to use his full vibrato, and it's like,
Someone gave Hugh Jackman a song he can sing.
what's the best opening phrase for Hugh Jackman? A large wavy belt, or, ladies and gents, this is a moment you wait for.
He's like
He can't whisper.
no, he's
it's not
like,
his fault.
He's a baritone.
Yeah.
And he does a good job
Big
at
old
it.
voice.
But he should be singing loud.
Yeah.
He should not do Les Mis ever. He should not do Greatest Showman ever.
I will still say I think Les Mis, I understand your criticisms. I think Les Mis is a better use of Hugh Jackman than The Greatest
Sorry,
Showman.
my criticism is that he was terrible.
And like P.T. Barnum is a better role for Hugh Jackman.
Right, The Greatest
But
Showman.
the songs were written
The
not
Greatest
for Hugh
Showman
Jackman.
also sucks.
Yeah.
Les Mis is good, and he was terrible. I'd rather have him suck at something sucky.
I understand what you're saying.
So, greatest Showman. What? No, vault it. There's
Okay.
there's no value.
Yeah.
Like, okay, we can take out the 10 seconds where that penguin does that dance and make it a GIF.
Yeah.
So maybe that's my special edition then. Is this movie is a 10-second GIF.
It's got to be with the music too. That's okay though. It could
Vault.
just be a vine.
Vaulted.
I think I you know what? I enjoyed the unique, right? Because like I could do a whole thing. Anyway, I think there's a neat story to be told in this like penguin who's not able to do the heart song, which is the main thing that his community does.
Right.
I liked all the community scenes. I understand your take on the musical numbers and totally respect it. I was having a blast with every one of these penguin, especially when they would mash up, like when they would do like
one
the
time
community
that
elders
happened.
doing Gregorian chant,
Sure.
and they're doing more of like a hip hop kind of military like drumline thing with their so cool. I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed the first several seasons of Glee, and then it got too much.
We're
But
gonna be in different rooms for a while after we wrap this
okay.
podcast episode.
I think there is. You take out all you do what happened before George Miller decided there needed to be an environmental streak in it, and I think it's an interesting and unique and like specifically like Gears and Cogs work together that you can tell that story of being outcast and being blamed for something and scapegoated through these penguins,
Yeah.
and so it's gonna take some work, but I think it would be neat. So special edition, but a new movie.
I have a new special edition. Mm-hmm. Okay. So, when you'd go to like Blockbuster and you'd grab the video off the shelf, and like you wouldn't always check to make sure it was the right videotape inside. So my special edition of Happy Feet it's a box that says Happy Feet, but then you get home and you pop it in, and oh no, it's Mad Max Fury Road on accident. That's my special edition.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Dick, what do you do with Wall-E?
It's tricky. If it's me, I do a special edition, and I want Wall-E to be 2 movies. I really am interested in the different themes and the different things that they were trying to critique and address in this movie, but by trying to do so much, they ended up doing not enough of any of them to be substantive.
Yeah.
I want to see a movie on that ship with the humans. I think that could be a really good movie, but I don't want them halfway through my movie.
Yeah.
Because I feel like we don't get enough time with them. So for me, moments like that handhold don't land as well because I feel like I don't know or care about these people. I just know that they're people. So I just care about them in that they are people and they were nice to a robot I know. And same with Wall-E. I feel like Wall-E's story gets very distracted by the story of the humans.
Sure.
Where I'm like, no, I want to know about Wall-E and Eve, and I'm spending a lot of time with this captain. So I just want to break this into 2 movies. It could even be like 2 short movies that kind of like Lion King 1.5 each other and like intersect.
Ooh, okay.
But I don't think we need both of these giant stories in the same movie. To me, I find it distracting from the messages that they're trying to get across.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think my closest answer is re-release.
Yeah.
Like, there are some things that I would doctor, but again, like, and
Pete,
I think it's like...
Pete Doctor? Or do you think they Stanton for themselves?
Oh, there was both writing, right? I think it's Andrew Stanton directing, but I think they co-wrote.
I think so.
No, I like it, and maybe it's just because I really like Black Mirror, and I know you've not really been able to get into it, and so like I think there's a little bit of that's like, oh, this could happen if we're not careful. Isn't neat? So some of the cheesier stuff just works for me better.
That's fair.
But re-release. Wally's great. Like the character Wally.
We should call him.
We should call him.
Yeah. Cool. Hey.
Hey.
You know what? Thanks for listening.
I'm sorry I've bumped my mic like 4 times this episode.
Yeah.
Apologies, everyone.
And I'm sorry that I'm going to forget to edit them out.
Yeah, that's fine.
I was apologizing to the audience.
Oh.
Which, by the way, hey, thanks for listening. We know, like, half the people on Earth don't have commutes right now. And it's real hard to listen. I'm so far behind in my favorite podcasts.
So, like, happy 2021, guys.
Yeah, happy...
Whenever you're back on your 2025, is that when commutes start again? We don't know.
Yeah, we're not sure. So
enjoy.
But thank you for listening. We really appreciate you. We're probably behind on like Facebook messages and emails and stuff. We're sorry.
Thank you for being patient.
We're trying. It's really hard out there.
You guys are best. And if you do, so we're gonna try.
We're gonna try.
If you do communicate with us, we are going to try our hardest to get back to you. And you can suggest to us a pairing of 2 movies. You can suggest to us one movie that you really would love us to talk about. And we'll, look through our catalogs and our mental libraries. Or if you just want to say like, hey, I enjoyed this. Or like, here's a fun fact about this. We love that.
Yeah.
You can reach us Cellmates Podcast on Twitter, Cellmates Podcast on Facebook, Cellmates Podcast @gmail.com and cellmatespodcast.com, just as a reference site. We don't communicate via that. But,
not really, no.
So thank you for listening. Thank you for interacting. Thank you for being awesome.
Yeah. Stay safe out there.
Yes.
And to be continued. We'll see you in 2 weeks.
Hopefully. Bye. As a reminder, Wall-E is all capital letters, so please speak it as such. Wall-E!